out tonight, can't you come out tonight? Buffalo gals, can't you come out tonight?
Welcome to Record-ology.
What do toothbrushes and records have to do with each other? By the way, welcome to Record-ology. In 1960, 45 RPM record sales were suffering. So RCA Victor comes up with a brilliant idea. Let's totally create a new record format. It'll be 7 inches just like a 45, but it'll be 33 RPM so you can fit more music on there, which will open up all kinds of possibilities for putting entire albums on a smaller, cheaper record and also releasing singles as well in this format. And it'll give us a completely new market for the Red Seal records, which we phased out and weren't doing as good as we'd hoped they had been doing for classical music. And it just opens up a whole new ball game. That's what happened, you guys. In 1961, RCA Victor had a major fail at trying to reinvent the wheel being the record. And they partnered with, I believe it was Dr. West's toothbrushes to release these promotional compact double 33 RPM records. This is an example of, I think, one of the early and somewhat popular examples. Now, the compact 33 format was brought to mind recently by one of your thoughtful comments about the format. And I recalled, yes, we do have that, and we should do a show about it. So sit back and enjoy a little review of this if you've already learned it. If you haven't, hopefully we can learn something together. So they partnered with Dr. West toothbrushes to release these promotional records to introduce this new format. They had noticed that in the last year, as 45 sales began to slump, there were some special issue 7-inch records on 33 RPM that were doing okay, especially when they were displayed in record dealers' stores and people could see them and they looked kind of cool and different. And, that was a thing. People were, kind of buying those. So they decided that, hey, we might have a market for this. We might actually have a market for this. So they decided to throw everything at this new format, and it only lasted 1 year. By 1962, it had dried up, it had failed, and RCA had moved on. So the idea was they could sell these records at a cheaper cost. These initial promotional ones with 4 songs on them were like 84 cents, 85 cents. The production release compact 33s were going to be basically $1 or $1.50, depending on what the content was. 2 songs was $1, 4 songs was $1.50, I think $1.49, something like that. But it's an interesting thing. These samplers or these promotional records that came out with the toothbrush promotion. You also got a free toothbrush with the promotion that was adhered to the package. I don't have the package. But as you can see, one side says Living Stereo, but the flip side says Monaural. So people could have access to both. They were trying to capitalize on a realization that shouldn't have been that exciting, that most people could play 33 RPM records. A lot of people are playing 45s, and a lot of people were still playing 78s, but they were really trying to push the 33. This might have been sort of a last-ditch effort to compete with Columbia's 12-inch 33 RPM record. They had, by this point, though, already been releasing on each other's formats. Columbia had been releasing 45s, and RCA had been releasing LPs, even though they had each kind of had a format war, which we've talked about before. So perhaps RCA Victor said, let's take one more stab at trying to best the competition. They really loved the 7-inch record format, and they really wanted to push it. So anyway, that's essentially the history of these. I want to compare it with some other similar records. It's not completely rare to find a 33 RPM 7-inch record. A lot of you guys in the UK will say, well, a lot of our 45s look a lot like this. And I thought they were almost exclusively that way, but you guys told me that, you will see some X jukebox records with a large hole. Now, from a physical standpoint, this is a pretty cheapo record. It is polystyrene. But it's cool looking. I think it's cool. I like the label. I like the design. I think it's a neat thing. But I want to show you some competing similar formats. Now, why the compact 33 idea went by the wayside, 33 RPM 7-inch discs really didn't. So here's an example of a Decca. This is a 33 RPM record. This is kind of akin to an EP. We talked about that the other day, where you could take a 7-inch 45 RPM record and control the modulation and cram more music on there than you could on a normal 45. So this kind of would compete with that a little bit. Now, in theory and in practice, at 33 RPM, you're going to get less resolution than you will at 45 RPM. 45 RPM, assuming the modulation is identical, should sound better than 33. However, you can people were, adjusting by the early 60s to the resolution, which was, honestly higher than they were used to with 78s, with the new 33s and the 12-inch LPs that, Columbia introduced and became a standard. So 33 RPM was something that, RCA was correct in that sense, that people were taking to that speed. And there was something to say also for the storage and the benefit storage-wise of having a compact record like these 7-inch records. So this is a Decca Mills Brothers. Very cool, very awesome. So yeah, pretty much growing up, whenever I saw a small record with a small hole, I assumed it was 33 RPM. Another thing is children's records were probably the most successful subset of a 33 RPM 7-inch discs. Almost all book on records, things like this, children's material, were issued on this type of a record. They could fit a lot of content on there. It was a small record that children could handle, and if there were any fidelity issues, kids didn't care. I'll show you a couple different variants here. This is Frank Sinatra's label, Reprise Records. It's got a nasty rub mark on the left there, as you can see. Pretty sure this is styrene as well. You can tell the label is simply adhered to this. So the styrene records are injection molded versus pressed like vinyl. But there you go. There's another example of a 7-inch 33 RPM record. I've got more. Another example of a kid's record is Charlie Brown Christmas, Charlie Brown Records. What's interesting about this is it says Buena Vista Distribution. That would be Walt Disney's distribution house. Interesting that they were releasing Charlie Brown content. This is one of the most paper-thin, cheapo records I have ever seen. I mean, it is, look at the size of the run-out groove. This is the prime real estate, fidelity-wise, on a 7-inch record. One of you guys reiterated that in the comments recently. So when you see the large run-out groove, it's because you really want to occupy this space primarily, and then if you need to, you can go towards the center. But interesting there. Inner groove distortion is going to obviously increase as the geometry of the angle of the disc and the groove within the disc changes. But there's an example, another example. I got a couple more for you here. Here's another RCA. Anytime you see that RCA logo, you know it's post-1968. That's the primarily associated with the 70s there. So Tommy Dorsey release here. I think this might have Sinatra. Yeah, it's got some Sinatra vocals. See, Frank Sinatra was with Tommy Dorsey. He was also with, what was that? Oh gosh, I can't believe. If anybody, I should know this. Harry James. He was with Harry James before he was with Tommy Dorsey. I can sleep at night now knowing that I got that out. This one's kind of unique. We've looked at this record once or twice before. This is a Seaberg, but it's not a regular Seaberg. This is the Discotheque series, 33 RPM, as you can see. Really cool record. Same idea, background music for lease only. It's probably a late fee on that one. And then one more example is this cool record right here. This is a Project 3 Records, Enoch Light. And they're saying this is an EP, even though it's 33 RPM, which is interesting. 1973. Really, really cool. And I just think it's a cool thing. Let me place these so you can see them. I don't want to slide them, but I want you to be able to kind of see some of these. It is a show after all, not a podcast. You should be able to see things, not just hear them. These are a few things from the collection, from the Record-ology vaults, as it were. And there are others as well. I never want to show everything, of any type or anything, because I want to keep you guys guessing. I've got stuff in there from 3+ years ago that I still haven't put on the show that would be interesting to do. One of them that I probably should have grabbed was one of my favorite labels of all time is this Walt Disney label that I had as a kid in the 80s. It was beautiful yellow with sort of this very early 80s stepped orange and yellow gradient at the top. But some cool designs here and a cool format that kind of lasted beyond the RCA Victor Compact 33 format. Now, other companies were doing that to some degree, but they didn't make it a big deal like RCA Victor tried to do. They were back to their old ways before long. There's some interesting articles out there about this format or this attempted format on the part of RCA Victor. Some of what I've read had mentioned that people, they're kind of clumsy to deal with. You can't put your fingers through these like you can of a 45. They're easier to hold a 45, whereas these are a little bit trickier. And if you're talking about singles and jukeboxes, then you have a whole compatibility issue to deal with as well. But anyway, let me know down in the comments below if any of you have any of these actual compact double 33 records, or if you have any 7-inch 33 RPM records in your collection as well, and what your thoughts are on them. And if I missed any of the technical benefits or any of the history, let me know down in the comments below. But thank you guys for watching. That's going to do it for now. Happy record hunting. We will see you tomorrow.